blimey, that light, and oh, I've got some shadow. It's dramatic. I could look like a villain of some form, I think, if I look in a certain way. What am I doing? What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Like, subscribe. Just kidding. But seriously, but not really, but kind of. Thing. I remembered a thing today. I remembered a thing about designing your future. So I've been into personal development for years, and a lot of it's worked, a lot of it hasn't worked. A lot of it's worked in ways that I didn't anticipate. A lot of it has worked in ways that I could only have dreamed of. It was actually a Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins that convinced me to start my own business. Not that I'm here to talk about that today, but suffice to say, I've been doing it for a while, and I remember. Okay, so way back when, something around where I was about 21, and this happened by accident, but it was like my first job after university. So, it's just that kind of standard, just finished university, need money, dead end job, please. And a friend of mine that worked there, we'd get into work like slightly earlier. And that was when we could get on the internet, because you weren't allowed to get on the internet post 9 a.m, like after work started. And what we started doing was we started designing our perfect lives, our dream lives, by the time we were 30. And they were like, this was talking like multi-millionaire style lives, but we didn't care. It was a bit of fun before work. And like, so I went on and I started downloading images and pictures and creating a vision of this future. And it was like these massive houses in Denver, like in the snow, with like a hot tub that looked over the valley in the snow. Because I love the idea of like having snow on one side, but hot water, right? And you can see the steam coming off the hot water. It's just ultra like scenic and awesome. And, we had like helicopters and motorbikes and the most amazing cars, all these types of different things. And obviously, like, by the time I got to 30, not a lot of that came to pass. But very soon after turning 30, I did find myself living in Denver, spending so much time with my husky, Link, in the mountains, in the snow, in effectively my dream location. And while I was then in Denver, I remember having this conversation with somebody that I was working with, and she told me the first time about the documentary called Minimalism, or The Minimalists. I can't remember. And it was my first experience with minimalism. And like, so I watched the documentary, and then 5 days passed in the blink of an eye, because I was just so interested in this concept around minimalism. It drew me in. I realized at that point that I was a practicing minimalist, just I didn't know it yet. And within this, I started looking into things like tiny houses, which didn't particularly interest me at the time, but shipping container homes did. They really, really, really did. And so I started to kind of design my ideal shipping container home. I decided to design like where it would be, and start to vision where it would be, and get photos of like where I would like it to be, and how it would look, and the glass, and how my bedroom layout would be, and how like I would have speakers in the ceiling so I could have music or ambient sounds playing all of the time. How it would be like a blended automated home in nature. So it'd be like technology inside, nature outside. And it would have these big open glass sliding doors. So you could just have them open, and you spend, half your time outdoors and half your time indoors. Even a day bed, so you could even sleep under the stars if you wanted. All these types of kind of concepts. And I even started planning it, and I even got architect drawings. I went on to Fiverr and had not proper architect drawings, but had paid someone like $50 to kind of get all the measurements and get it looking like simple, like initial ideas architect drawings. But it had all the dimensions, it had the layouts, it had where everything was going to be. And you can actually see then your vision starting to come to life. And you almost like cognitively start living in that space while you go through that process. And then I even went to, like, this was before I lost my visa and had to leave the US, but I even went to see this guy, this actual shipping container architect, and went around this warehouse where the Steelworks warehouse, where effectively the kind of game plan was to, and I didn't quite have enough money at this point, but I was getting close. And the idea was we were going to get the shell of the shipping container in this and then move it up to the location that I was picking out, and I was going to go see this location, and everything was going really well. I ended up, losing my visa and had to go back to the UK, so it kind of put a stop on that. But like, it's amazing what happens when you start to vision things with increased specificity. You can have vague ideas about your future of how you might want to live and how you might want to, the things you might want to experience. But it takes a whole new level when you start to get into the specifics, because then you start going on the journey and creating behaviors in the present as if you're going there. And I think so many of us, as children, we've got dreams and ambitions. And as we get older, those dreams and ambitions start to wane. And all of a sudden, the only thing we do is we think about our today or our tomorrow, maybe a few months' time. But it's very living moment to moment in our addictions or our cravings or our desires in the moment. Rarely do we think, like, I'm 36 now. And I don't know a lot of other 36-year-olds that think about like a 30-year plan, because the idea of being 66 is like, that's a bit out there. But imagine what I could do in those 30 years. Imagine what you could do in 30 years. Like, we don't need to live in 3 to 6 month windows. Hell, like, we're still going to be, locked down in 3 to 6 months. We have to look beyond that. We have to go to 5, 10, 15, 20 years and start creating that vision, and not just live. Yes, live in the present moment, but live in the present moment, aiming for something massive, aiming for something huge. Don't just live in the present moment as if you're living in your addiction and being at the whim of the momentary craving you might be feeling. Because if you've got a vision for 20 years of something absolutely incredible, your behavior in the present will change. It will change to meet that vision when it's compelling enough. And you start that journey and it starts to become real, and you start living there long before you've got there. That was a rant out of nowhere, but I want you to have a think about that. And I'm going to be doing more videos on how to think about this. But it is genuinely, I'm about to go through this process again now, knowing what I want to do next. I feel disappointed that I've let myself kind of like over the past year and a half, 2 years, not feel that. But I'm definitely going to be bringing it back. I'm going to be going through this whole process again. So I hope anybody watching this you'll join me. So I'd really appreciate if you do want to join me, a like on this video, maybe a subscribe, and we'll take this journey together. See you tomorrow.